You've been stripped of your crown and exiled from your home, so where do you head? Why, New Jersey, of course. Welcome to American Esoterica. If history class gives you the cheeseburger, this is the cheese wrapper, the essential stuff in between, the personalities, events, and other ephemera that shape our history and culture. I'm Brian Powers. There's plenty of royalty to be found in the Garden State. Sinatra, Springsteen, Bon Jovi, I could go on and on. They aren't technically royalty, but I'm pretty sure we fought a couple wars, so we didn't have to deal with patently idiotic things like kings and such. The chairman of the board and the boss are just gonna have to do for American royalty, although I imagine Taylor Swift is up there as well. That said, there was a time when an actual king-ish took up residence in the state that gave us both Kevin Smith and Snooki. And as weird as his whole deal was, our subject today fits right in. As with many bits of American Esoterica, see what I did there? This one actually starts in Europe and stays there for a good long while. Our subject, Joseph, who we're going to call Jersey Joe, was born in 1768 on a Mediterranean island equidistant from Italy and France. Although Jersey Joe was destined for a little glory of his own, he was all but dragged to it by his little brother, born a year later. As revolutionary fervor spread from the United States to Europe, the little brother took up arms and began making a name for himself militarily. And always at his side was his big brother Joe, at the ready to help with the diplomatic side of things, negotiating truces and treaties that his little brother's military prowess earned. By 1796, his 27-year-old brother was a national hero. 3 years later, Joe's little brother overthrew the government in a coup, and 6 years later, little brother was king of Italy. Until that point, Jersey Joe operated as his little brother's chief diplomat, but he also kept the seat of power warm while the other man was away on his numerous military conquests. In 1806, Jersey Joe became King Jersey Joe when his little brother gave him rule over Naples. A few years later, after his little brother conquered Spain, just for fun, Jersey Joe became King of Spain at his brother's behest. Europe, meanwhile, was getting sick of these brotherly chuckleheads, and opposition was building. Jersey Joe was driven out of Spain in 1813, a king no more. Little brother finally angered enough countries with his shtick that several of them banded together to finally defeat him militarily, while those he had deposed snuck in and retook the throne in concert with his enemies. Despite an attempt or two at regaining power, it was basically game over for the brothers around 1815. Jersey Joe ditched Europe altogether about 10 feet in front of the mobs, and that brings us back to firmer ground in America. What's the former King of Spain to do when he's driven out of his home continent? Head for the Jersey Shore, I guess. Hey, I hear they have great skee ball. Actually, Jersey Joe arrived in the United States in semi-disguise under a grand new title and first settled in a townhouse in Philadelphia. Soon after, he dropped some coin on a lavish 211-acre estate just outside of Trenton, just across the Delaware River from Pennsylvania, and about a 20-minute drive south from where Washington made his fateful crossing just under 40 years earlier. He soon set about trying to turn his estate into a center of art and culture in the new country. He named it Point Breeze, and it worked exactly as he imagined. From the original 211 acres, Jersey Joe expanded the grounds to more than 1,800 acres, all in the picturesque Delaware Valley. The house alone was magnificent, 3 stories tall with a giant tower and over 38,000 square feet. There were exquisite gardens, the finest in North America with over 12 miles of trails, a jaw-dropping art collection, and a massive library. As desired, it became the seat of European culture in the Americas. On the road between Philadelphia and New York, it was a well-traveled stop for diplomats, emigres, artists, scientists, and more. Jersey Joe patronized the arts and scientists heavily and rubbed shoulders with every notable passing through, from the Marquis de Lafayette to Mexican revolutionaries. European expatriates knew they could always hear word of home at Joe's place, which was another advantage of the location. News of European politics would have to travel via horseback right past his house, going either direction between Philadelphia and New York. So Joe was always up on current affairs back home. In a very weird twist, Joe was out hunting on his property one day when he supposedly crossed paths with the cryptid the Jersey Devil, a giant being he described with wings and a horse-like head that hissed at him. And after his sighting of the creature, he always kept a lookout whenever he was out on the grounds. So how did Jersey Joe pay for all this? Why, with money stolen and smuggled out from the treasury back home, of course. It's all the more ironic that he and his siblings were only in power in the first place because of a revolution against the wealthy royals. And here he was, living like a king just down the road from Pat's King of Steaks. The first grand house at Point Breeze burned down in 1820. Joe built a new one that was even larger and more lavish, but that included underground tunnels to outbuildings, including a lake house he had built for his daughter. Jersey Joe eventually felt the pull of the old continent and took an extended vacation in London, England, for a few years, starting in 1832, mainly because he was still banned from his home country. He returned to Point Breeze a few times for stays of a year or so, heading back to Europe finally full-time in 1839. He never returned to the United States, suffering a stroke in 1840 and ultimately dying 4 years later in Florence. But why New Jersey? Why even America at all? He had even tried to convince his little brother to come with him to the land of the free, home of the brave, etc. Who really knows? Maybe he liked the open countryside. Maybe it was the rugged new nation. Or maybe it was Jersey Joe snooping on a deal he had made years earlier. It was he, after all, who negotiated the Louisiana Purchase with the Americans in 1803. He had done so on behalf of his little brother, the King of Italy, who also happened to be the Emperor of France as well, Joseph Bonaparte's little brother, Napoleon. This has been American Esoterica. All sounds were made by me, Brian Powers. Did I get it wrong? Did I get it right? Just want to talk about how Napoleon wasn't really short for the time and he was of average height? Drop me a note. The address is yell@americanesoterica.com. More information on the show can be found at americanesoterica.com. Thank you for listening, and God bless America.